Joining us tonight are Norah O'Donnell, the co-host of CBS This Morning, John Dickerson, our CBS News political director, and Juan Zarate, former staff member at the National Security Council and now a CBS News consultant. Norah, what did you see in the debate tonight? A very different tone than the first two we saw.
That's right. This is the third and final debate. If you look at the first debate, we saw a very aggressive Mitt Romney prosecuting the case against President Obama and his economic record. In this final debate, which was on foreign policy, you saw Mitt Romney really avoided the jugular in many respects. He seemed intent on moderating his rhetoric. He repeatedly said that the president was right on issues, that he concurred with him on a number of issues. In fact, it was President Obama who said that Romney was having a hard time differentiating himself. It was President Obama who accused Romney of being, quote, all over the map on foreign policy. And Scott, we have seen the strongest argument from Mitt Romney on foreign policy has been criticizing this president on that consulate attack in Benghazi. Tonight, he did not follow through on that. And it might have been in part because he had difficulty in the last debate on that particular issue. If you're scoring this like a boxing match, Obama perhaps landed more punches.
Well, you know, it's been a remarkable moment here. We've been watching the two candidates and their families together, looking very much like two people who were at the end of a long and difficult fight, almost with a sense of reconciliation, at least with the families there around them, and of course now greeting members of the audience here at Lynn University. You know, John, if Governor Romney won the first debate and the president made a comeback in the second, this would make this one the tiebreaker, but not so easy to decide.
Not so easy. You know, it's amazing in that scene we just saw, tag Romney, who said he wanted to take a swing at the president in the second debate, was having a nice chat with him, had his hand on his back. There seemed to be no threat of menace there. But, you know, just picking up on Norah's, if it's a bout and you score it on points and the points go to the president, there's also a boxing metaphor where one of the combatants hugs the other. And there was a lot of instances here where Mitt Romney didn't engage, chose not to. Remember the dust up over Libya in the last debate? Romney got the wrong end of that. There seems to have been a calculation here. They believe that things are going well. It's not in Romney's comparative advantage to really press the case too much. The president was saying he was reckless, but there was nothing in the way that Governor Romney was behaving tonight that looked reckless. He looked measured, didn't go over the top, let a lot of fights go by, seems to be deciding that he's going to be hired on the economy. And if you're hiring him on the economy, he needs to just be sufficient on that second job. And then let's go back to talking about the economy as they did here. There were times where it felt like we went to a foreign policy debate and a domestic policy debate broke out.
Juan Zarate, you were Deputy National Security Advisor in the most recent Bush administration. And I wonder what you saw as you listened to this debate and you heard these men talk about foreign policy.
Scott, two things that were interesting to me. First, Governor Romney has critiqued the Obama administration for projecting weakness. And so he has talked about projecting American strength and power. The challenge, though, for Governor Romney, and we saw it in this debate, was how to talk about that without appearing to be bellicose and appearing to want to commit American troops. And so you saw Governor Romney bend over backwards in the context of Syria, in the context of Afghanistan, to say clearly we're not talking about putting American boots on the ground. So I thought that was interesting. I also thought that with respect to Syria, where you could draw some very clear divides, Governor Romney pulled his punches a bit. He decided not to make a clear argument as to a clear distinction of policy. And I think that's a weakness for the president because clearly things are not going well with Syria. The regional conflicts that we fear, the rise of Islamists, all the things that you worry about with Syria are unfolding as we speak. And so whatever we're doing, it's not working. Governor Romney really didn't press that very hard. And so I thought that was interesting.
Juan, thanks very much. One of the things the president said tonight was that there were no talks planned by his administration with Iran, no bilateral talks over the issue of Iran creating a nuclear weapon. There have been some reports recently that such talks were in the offing, but the president said that those reports were not true. So that was a little bit of news that was made here tonight. And there were a couple of other points that the president made that made news as well. Major Garrett is the White House correspondent for National Journal, and he has a couple of those points for us. Major?
Well, good evening, Scott. The president said at one point in the debate, the sequestration, and for the folks in the country who don't know what that word means, it means across-the-board spending cuts affecting the Pentagon and the domestic part of our budget. He said flatly, the president did, will not happen. But he didn't offer any explanation as to how that won't actually occur. And I'm telling you, Scott, Washington is completely tied in knots over how to avert those spending cuts. The president said definitively they won't happen, but left the nation wondering completely how he's going to achieve that. Secondarily, the president said al-Qaeda is weaker now than when he took office. It wasn't so long ago that President Obama said al-Qaeda's leadership had been, quote, decimated, and that it was on its heels globally. The president is adapting his language about al-Qaeda and his relative success in prosecuting the American war against al-Qaeda because current events have taken some of that rhetoric and placed it in sharp relief and not exactly as accurate as it once was.
Major, thank you very much.